Hello everyone, this is Lalima and welcome to the second part where we are learning about the JSON data using Python. In our first video, we have seen some basic detail about the JSON data structure where we learned the basic syntax rules for the JSON data and understood different structure of JSON data. Now, in today's video, we'll see the second part where we'll import and normalize the JSON data. So without further ado, let's start it. Okay, so let's see importing JSON and normalizing it. So for that, I'm using some sample data. So if you see here, I have this sample data 1, 2, and 3. So in sample 1, I have data which is an array form, and inside that we have some objects. For sample 2, I have one object and it has key value pair kind of data where value is in array form. And in third sample data, I have some nested data which is combination of array and object. Okay, so using these three sample data, I will do our importing and normalization. Okay, so to start, I'm importing JSON and pandas library, and let's work on a sample data 1. So first I'll open this file. So for that, file equal to open, and this is the location of my file, and I'm opening this in read mode. So this is my file. Now I need to load this file using JSON. So data equal to JSON.load, and here I pass file. And we'll see data. So if I run this, this is our data, which is in form of array, and inside we have multiple objects. Okay, so we already imported our data. Now we need to normalize it. Okay, so normalization means converting your JSON data into a tabular form. So any data analysis, we need our data into a tabular form or in a structured way so that we can further do data cleaning, data profiling, or any other transformation and analysis. Okay, so that's why any data which is in JSON format, we need to normalize it to get in a tabular form. Okay, so here we imported our data. Now let's convert into a tabular form or a normalized way. So for that, I'll use a pandas library. So let's say df equal to pd.json underscore normalize. Okay, and here I pass data. Okay, and if I say df, so it's converted this particular data into a tabular form. Okay, so as we get the data, further we can clean this data by removing this square bracket or by removing this comma, or if you want the 2 separate column for each skill, that you can also split. So now we get our data in normalized weight, and further we can do our data profiling over this data. Okay, so this is the sample data 1. Now let's move to the sample data 2. So here again I'll open the file. So file equal to open, and this is the location. So here instead of sample 1, I'll use sample 2, and this is also I'll open in read. Okay, now let's load into a JSON. So data equal to JSON.load, and here we pass the file, and if we see the data, so this is our data which is in form of object. Okay, now let's normalize it or convert into a tabular form. So df equal to pd.json underscore normalize, and here I pass data, and we see df. So here all the data comes into a single cell. Why? Because here data is in object form. Okay, earlier it was in array form, so it is splitted and created separate columns and rows. Okay, but here data is in object form. This employee was our key, and this particular part was our value. So it created column as a key value, and whole value it inserted into a particular cell. Okay, but this is not the correct normalized form. We need to further break it down to get this particular structured or tabular form. So for that, I'll modify my command a little bit, where I'll give the correct path name. Okay, so here we can give record underscore path, and we need to pass the key. So here key is employee. Okay, so just copy this, and inside the quotes you pass the key, and if I rerun this, then it further breakdown and created proper table form, same like the above example. So whenever you have a data in object form and value is in array form, so you need to give the correct record path name as well. Okay, so this is our sample data 2. Now let's move to the sample data 3, where our data is in a nested form. That means it has combination of object and arrays. So let's see how we can tackle the sample data 3. So for sample data 3, let's again open the file. So file equal to open. Instead of let's select 3. This is also on opening in read mode. Okay, so the file is open. Now load this file in new JSON. So data equal to JSON.load, pass the file and see the data. So this is our data, which is a nested form because it has combination of array and object and multiple object inside an object like that. Okay. So we already loaded using JSON. Now normalize it. Okay. So I'm using here equal to pd.json is for normalize. Here we'll pass the data. And let's see how it will generate. So it's generating some columns correctly, but some column it contain the whole value altogether. Okay, so let's just observe our data. So I'm taking this second section. So here make, model, year, spec. Okay, so make, model, year are the individual columns. So make, model, year for this particular value. So here make, model, year is correct. Now under spec again we have engine, gearbox, suspension and driver. So it created separate column for spec.engine, spec.gearbox, spec.suspension because it has single key value pair. So this value also looks good in our tabular form. But inside spec again it has one driver key which has array kind of values. Okay, so that's why inside spec.driver it took whole value which is in form of array and stored into a single column. Okay, so little bit this data normalized, but some part of this data still need to further break down. So let's first handle this spec.driver column. So here I'm creating another data frame. So I'll just copy this. And this is our df1, and here I am passing the correct path. So here I am passing the record path. Okay, and as we know, here we have two keys. Why? Because inside spec we have driver, and then this value we need to break down, right? This driver value we need to break down, and this driver is already inside this spec. So here I need to pass two key values. So for passing two key values, I need list. So inside list, first is our specs, and second is drivers. Okay, so if I run this, so it normalized this particular section and created separate rows for each value. Okay, so here if you see, earlier we had only 2 rows. Now for particular this spec.drivers we have around 6 rows. Okay, so our data is breakdown, but still this is not the correct way or correct tabular form where we can do our further analysis. We need to merge this data all together. Okay, so we need to merge this particular section with this particular subsection. Okay, so let's observe again. So if we see here for this particular make and model, we have 3 type of drivers information. Same way for this particular make and model, we have here 3 kind of drivers detail. Okay, so that's why for the 2 rows we have total 6 driver details. So where first 3 rows for this driver detail belongs to the first row of this model, and the remaining 3 rows belongs to the second row of this model. Okay, so we need to merge it correctly. So here instead of just concatenating one by one, I'll use the explode function. So it will generate 3 times this particular row with respect to these 3 rows, and again 3 times with another model. So let's see how it works. So I'll create a new data frame, which is data frame 2, and I used explode function. So I'm applying this explode function on this data frame. Okay, df data frame. So df dot explode, and here I'm passing this particular column. Why? Because this driver has 3 kind of details for each model. So I need this row also explode or come with these 6 rows. Okay, so I'll use this particular column here. We see the data frame. So see, instead of earlier we had only 2 rows and combined driver details, here we have separate 3 rows which has the same value but different driver details we have. Okay, so earlier these 3 details combined and created single row, but now we splitted this row with respective driver details. So that's a 3 rows for this model and 3 rows for another model. Okay, so now we already have our separate driver details here and exploded rows detail here. So now we can merge these 2 data frames. So here we will use the concat function, but before that we need to correct the index here. For that I'll use for reset underscore index, and inside I'll use drop equal to 2. So So here both are in sequence form. So now we can easily concat our data based on the index. So let's concat it. So here our final data frame is data frame 3 equal to pd.concat, and here I'll pass the data frame which we want to concat. So first I want to take data frame 2 and then I want to merge with data frame 1. Okay, so we see here data frame 3. See, it merged the data, but it's added 6 rows of the first data frame and then 6 rows of another data frame. Okay, so here I need to pass axis equal to 1. Okay, so if we read on this, so now it's merged in a correct way. So here if you see, this is our normalized data, only this column is extra here. So let's remove this as well. We'll just remove from the same data frame. Here, drop, and here column equal to, this is our column name. If we run this, so this is the correct tabular or normalized form of our sample data 3. So that's about the importing and normalizing JSON data. So we have seen 3 types of JSON sample data. Started from simple to nested JSON data and perform different operation to normalize it or convert it to the tabular form. So in this video, whatever sample data I have used, same I have uploaded into my GitHub page. So you can get that sample data under data set, and here you can get this data. So I'll share this link into description box so you can get data set as well as Jupyter notebook from this link. So in our next video, we'll see how we can export data into JSON file. So whatever data frame we have created today, same data frame I'll use, and using that only we'll export data into JSON file. Okay, so I'll see you in next video. I'll share the link of all these 3 video into description box. So you please see the subsequent video all together. And that's it for today's video. I'll see you in next video. Till then, thank you and take care.